Snow lashed the McAllister homestead like a whip when Jacob slammed the door and shouted, "I'll marry her, crippled or not." The city's celebrated beauty, Charlotte Beaumont, froze on the porch, her silk cloak stiff with ice. Beside the hearth stood Lena Carter, the quiet maid with a limp and a past she never spoke of, her knuckles white around the handle of a water pail. Jacob's father, Eli, a rancher whose stare could splinter wood, lowered his pipe with a hiss. "You'll shame this family," he growled, every word carried on clouds of bitter breath. Outside, the prairie wind moaned like a warning. Charlotte's emerald eyes flared. "You'd throw away a fortune for a maid who can't even dance?" She said, her voice sharp as a spur. Lena met Jacob's gaze but did not speak. Memories of a saloon fire, one that stole the strength from her right leg and left her scarred with secrets, flickered behind her eyes. She had run from the cattle trails of Red Gulch for good reason, and the name she'd hidden was one she swore never to reveal. The room held its breath. Jacob's jaw hardened. "I'll take a cripple with courage over a queen with ice for a heart," he said. A crack split the air. A rifle shot from the darkness outside. The barn door shuddered. Jacob lunged for his father's rifle, but a second sound followed, the soft flutter of paper. A scrap of blood-red cloth pinned to the door frame, slick with frost, bore a single scrawled warning: "Break the union or bury her before spring." The wind roared through the gap as if the prairie itself had delivered the threat. Eli's eyes narrowed. Charlotte stepped back in sudden fear, and Lena felt the old scar on her leg burn like fresh fire. Somewhere in the night, a rider turned his horse toward Red Gulch. The dawn came bitter and white, burying the ranch in a silence so deep it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Then a scream split the frost. Jacob tore open the cabin door, rifle in hand. Out by the corral, a bay mare lay dead, its throat slashed clean. Snow beneath it glowed a sick crimson. Eli strode through the gale, coat snapping like a flag. "This ain't random," he growled. "Someone's marking us." Lena gripped her shawl tight. Her limp dragged through the snow like a dark underline. Red Gulch. The name throbbed in her mind. She hadn't spoken it in 2 years. Charlotte emerged from the porch, eyes glittering with something between triumph and terror. "This is what comes of crossing the Beaumonts," she hissed. Yet even she flinched when another sound rode the wind. Low, guttural, almost human. Jacob scanned the tree line. "Wolves?" "No," Eli muttered. "Men." A shot cracked from the pines. Snow burst near Jacob's boots. He dove behind the trough, heart pounding. Lena dropped to the icy boards, panic slicing her breath. Her gaze caught a glint of iron under the mare's frozen flank. A small branding iron, still warm enough to steam. The mark seared into its tip was a crude letter G, blackened by fresh fire. She knew that letter, and the man who once wore it like a badge of pride. Before she could speak, Charlotte's voice wavered. I saw that brand in my father's ledger last night." Eli spun, eyes like gunmetal. "You best start talking, girl." The wind picked up, carrying another distant echo, hoofbeats fading fast toward the north ridge. Jacob tightened his grip on the rifle. Whoever carried the past into their snowbound night had just thrown down the first challenge. And the next move would draw blood. The wind howled like a dying thing, flinging needles of ice across the ranch yard. Jacob slammed the cabin door shut, but the storm's rage rattled the hinges as if it wanted in. On the table lay the blood-stained branding iron. Its blackened G still hissed faintly. Eli's jaw worked like a man chewing glass. "Gideon Pierce," he said at last. "I buried that name years ago." Charlotte's fingers trembled over a leather-bound ledger she'd brought from her father's study. "This was hidden behind the false wall," she whispered. "Payments, dates, everyone marked with the same G." Jacob leaned closer. "Your father's dealings?" Charlotte bit her lip until it bled. He funded Pierce's raids. Cattle theft. Maybe worse. Outside, a sudden thud shook the porch. Lena limped to the window. Through the swirl of snow, a shadow moved, tall, broad-shouldered, face lost in the white. "Who's there?" Jacob barked. The figure didn't answer. Only the glint of a pistol caught the lantern light before it vanished into the blizzard. Eli grabbed his rifle. "Pierce is dead," he muttered, but doubt cracked his voice. Lena's heart hammered. Years ago, before her leg was crushed in the mine collapse, she'd heard that same measured tread in Red Gulch, right before gunfire took her brother. A brittle silence followed. Then the storm itself seemed to whisper through the cracks. I never died. Jacob pulled Charlotte aside. Your father, why hide this now? Charlotte swallowed hard. Because someone paid him. Last week. She turned the ledger so they could see the final entry. A single initial, freshly inked, G. A gunshot boomed from the barn. The lanterns flickered. Eli threw the door wide. He's inside. Snow roared in behind him, carrying the metallic scent of blood. The storm had delivered more than ice tonight. It had brought the ghost of a past they thought buried. The barn door yawned open to the storm's icy roar, and the body of the ranch hand. Levi sprawled face down in a pool of crimson. Jacob froze. Shotgun raised. The wind slammed the door against the wall like a judge's gavel. Pierce! Eli rasped, his voice a rasp of old fear. He's not dead. He's hunting us. Lena stepped inside, her limp barely slowing her. Her sharp eyes caught a scrap of paper pinned to Levi's shirt with a hunting knife. One word scrawled in black charcoal. Ledger. Charlotte's breath hitched. He wants the book back. A lantern guttered. Shadows leapt like startled coyotes. Jacob turned to Charlotte. Your father's crimes, how deep do they run? Before she could answer, the creak of the loft ladder sliced the silence. Eli swung his rifle upward. Show yourself. A boy, no more than 12, clung to the rungs. His coat was dusted white, his eyes fever bright. Don't shoot, he cried. I'm Gideon Pierce's son. The name hit like a thunderclap. Charlotte staggered back. But Pierce died 10 years ago. The boy's lips trembled. He lives, and he's coming for what you stole. Outside, the blizzard howled harder, masking the crack of distant gunfire. Jacob grabbed the boy's arm. Where is he? The child shook his head. Closer than you think. Another shot rang out, this time from the ranch house. Lena's heart hammered. My mother's inside. Eli tightened his grip on the rifle. This is a trap. He's driving us apart. Jacob's gaze locked with Charlotte's. We end this tonight, or we don't live to see dawn. Above them, the loft window banged open on a sudden gust. A single black feather drifted down, landing on the blood-slick floor like a silent warning. Snow slashed sideways across the prairie like white-hot knives as dawn bled pale light over the battered ranch. Jacob pushed the door wide and stepped into a silence so heavy it pressed on his chest. The blizzard had spent itself, but the true storm was waiting inside. Charlotte stood by the hearth, her hands streaked with soot and something darker. The ledger, Pierce's ledger, lay open in the firelight. Its pages hissed where melting frost met embers. Eli staggered in behind Jacob, rifle barrel trembling. Tell me you didn't burn it, he said. Charlotte's eyes glinted like flint. The names inside would have doomed every family in this valley, including yours. A gun cocked behind them. Gideon Pierce stepped from the shadows, black coat dripping meltwater, the boy clinging to his side. His grin was a slash of cold steel. And yet, he drawled, I only needed one name. Hers. He raised his revolver toward Charlotte. Jacob moved faster than thought, shoving Charlotte aside. The shot cracked the quiet like a lightning strike. Sparks rained from the hearth. Eli's rifle roared back. Pierce dropped, a dark stain spreading across the floorboards like spilled night. For a long heartbeat, no one breathed. Only the wind's mournful whistle through broken shutters. The boy knelt beside his father, silent, unreadable. Then he lifted his gaze to Jacob, something ancient flickering in those young eyes. This isn't over, the child whispered. The debts he owed? They're mine now. The words chilled Jacob more than the winter ever could. Outside, the storm clouds tore apart, revealing a bruised sunrise. Smoke curled from the dying fire like the last breath of a buried past. Jacob tightened his grip on Charlotte's hand. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new hoofbeats echoed faintly, reminding them that in the Wild West, peace was only ever borrowed.